comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
I think we are going to start off as per usual with some Click Pitch. So Click Pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we click refresh, get 2 new words and jam them together into a game sandwich. And it's delicious sometimes. So, shall we give it a go?
Yep. 3, 2, 1, click.
All right.
Server error in WO for Snakes application. That's my word.
Yeah, my word is a completely blank yellow square. I'm not sure what we can do with server error and yellow square.
What about the network path was not found?
Yeah, unfortunately, our random word generator that we usually use is down, so we're going to actually do something a little bit different this week. Rather than finding a different random word generator, we like Random Word Plus. I think we'll start off with, did we say a movie adaptation, perhaps?
Movie or TV shows, whatever floats your boat, Ben.
Yeah.
You can have the first suggestion.
I get the first pick? All right. I literally do have a random word random movie generator in front of me here, and I'm just going to find one that I feel like could perhaps give us an interesting game. So the one that's stood out to me in this list is the classic 1988 comedy fantasy Beetlejuice, starring Michael Keaton.
Okay, so
did they ever do a Beetlejuice game? I feel like it's one that might have got like a SNES game or something.
I'm thinking it would have been a platform game and therefore wouldn't have been very much in the vein of Beetlejuice.
No, there was a NES game. There you go.
Yeah, well, 88, that suits the time for the NES a little bit better. Around the Mario 3 time. Addams Family, like the movies.
Yeah. So, all right, with our modern consoles and powerful PCs, 3D engines, what would we do with this Tim Burton's masterpiece, Beetlejuice?
Well, one of the main things that is sticking into my mind is like the ghost afterlife. It was just like this big waiting room and very bureaucratic and all this sort of stuff. So I'm imagining like what it would be like to be basically running security for that sort of world. Like you'd be seeing all these random weird looking ghosts coming in and, having to sort of try and protect the afterlife bureau, as it were.
Yeah. Okay. So it's set in the world of Beetlejuice in that way. And presumably Beetlejuice has some place in this game as well, even if it's not necessarily a main. Or are you saying because that wasn't his job? It
wasn't his job. He was
just like a random crazy ghost guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, that pretty much came and helped them, create different haunts and that sort of stuff. And
yeah,
it was sort of like a ghost for hire.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, he basically came to try to scare away the new owners of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Maitlands. Yes. We came to help them. Now, one thing that didn't really make sense about the whole world of Beetlejuice was the fact that, the people couldn't leave the house that they were haunting. But somehow Beetlejuice could get to their house. So how did that work?
Well, that's interesting then. That's interesting. Perhaps we can explore kind of the rules of this ghostly world, and that becomes part of the game. So them not being able to leave the house, it could either be that, the standard ghost thing of unfinished business.
Yep.
And that maybe their unfinished business is within the house and they can't leave until that's resolved.
Yep.
It could also be that just they're recently dead, and so maybe you learn to control your ghostly self better as time goes by and travel, further from the place you died or were killed or whatever.
Or it turns out that old adage of home is where the heart is
literally true.
Is literally true, that home is actually where the ghost is. So if you don't have a home and you find yourself,
right,
sort of, you trust in yourself so much that, and Beetlejuice seems to have, a really, really big ego and trusts himself like to the
he's
end
his
of the
own
earth.
home.
He can basically move wherever he wants because, the rules actually apply to, well, wherever he feels comfortable, that's where his home is, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, look, and you could explore that in different ways. Maybe you play another either family or just person who is recently deceased, and you are exploring that ghostly world, and you come across Beetlejuice in the process.
Yep.
Of dealing with that. But yeah, you kind of like the start sort of mirrors the movie in the way of you come to realize you are dead and you make your way to, the afterlife with the bureaucracy and everything. And, but then obviously the story branches into this person's story. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be quite cool. And you can go through the bureaucratic side of things of, you've been assigned to this house, you must try and, scare these people out of the house, and then you're sort of given things that you got to do on each day to sort of fulfill your ghostly needs.
Yeah, well, that's it. They've sort of got duties like. So I'm refreshing myself on the Wikipedia page, but they apparently have to remain in the house for 125 years. So part of why Beetlejuice can move around is perhaps just that he has already fulfilled, or he's shirking certain duties and has found a way to get out of whatever contract kind of requires it of their, incorporeal self.
I would almost love if you went into the lore of Beetlejuice and it turns out that he was like this slimy lawyer who just was able to get out of these contracts because he knew more legalese than the person that actually wrote it.
I mean, it would make sense, and he wears that suit, and yeah. Yeah, for sure. That could be cool. Maybe you hire him. Maybe this is earlier. Maybe this is like the 50s or something.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it's a prequel, and you sort of get a bit of Beetlejuice's backstory before he's quite as wacky, although you obviously see elements of that. Maybe it's how he becomes Beetlejuice. Maybe he is just a lawyer at the start and he's just got a black suit. And something throughout the course of the game makes it turn black and white striped and makes his hair go green.
and gradually turn from a real clean cut looking guy to more of a Michael Keaton white face, black eyes. Well,
maybe
sort of
it's your character. Maybe whatever your character and Beetlejuice go through together, like, completely breaks him.
Yeah.
It turns him into the Beetlejuice we know and love from the movie and other, the animated series.
Yep. And the sequel that never was, Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii, or whatever it was supposed to be. I don't know why the hell they were talking about that as a sequel.
There's also a stage musical coming out.
Oh,
this
Jesus
year.
Christ.
Next year. Oh, no, it said it came out. I guess it's out. That's interesting. Yeah, that could be good if they do it well.
Yeah, depends on the music.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what is it then that happened? Let's figure out the character. Let's figure out the story a bit, because I feel like there's some interesting stuff that we could delve into.
Okay, so you're playing one of the clients of the lawyer who eventually becomes Beetlejuice, or or are you playing just someone who doesn't quite know him, but meets up with him in like the bureau, like that first day?
Yeah, I was thinking meets up with him in the bureau. So, okay, here's sort of the arc I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go over it in more detail with characters and stuff. But basically, someone dies. They find the handbook or whatever that helps them get to the bureau, the afterlife bureau. They talk to their caseworker, and they find out that they're going to have to do some long-running task for 2 centuries, and like this is just the way it is. But Beetlejuice overhears this and is like, whoa, don't sign that. I can get you a better deal. Like, I can help you through this system, through all the bureaucracy. And then that kind of kicks off. And then that's the goal, is to like find ways to
speed up your time.
You know, maybe you have to get a bribe for someone, or you have to, to just get a better deal before you're free to, whether it's free to roam the earth or free to move on to some, next level of afterlife or whatever it is in this world.
So what I'm picturing is like Beetlejuice had a partner on Earth. And
yeah.
I'm picturing that this,
like a law partner,
and I'm picturing that this law partner is the one who actually had something to do with your death. So
there's some
Beetlejuice's, which is why you're sort of drawn together. Like there's some otherworldly thing that you find out that
Well, maybe it's that Beetlejuice is hiding that fact from you.
Yeah.
That there's also that connection, because then that can be a reveal at some point of sort of like, oh yeah, that's how I even came across you, was I'm trying to,
trying to take this person out as well.
my old partner who fucked me over and got me killed. That's cool.
That is cool. Okay, so what sort of gameplay? I'm picturing, an adventure game, but as to what type of adventure game?
Yeah. So I've been, I wouldn't go completely down this route, but I've been playing Detroit Beyond Human, which is really quite good. And look, I feel like something like Beetlejuice would need to be closer to a more inventory-based sort of thing, with those sorts of puzzles, but maybe some elements of a Quantic Dream style thing where just in the fact that you have some different branching elements that could make them go in different directions, or even just that it's super well done, high fidelity 3D with like motion capture and stuff. Maybe that's all we take from it. But I don't know. That's just in my mind when it comes to sort of storytelling games.
Mm-hmm. I'm gathering as we go through the game, like Beetlejuice is getting a little bit more like slightly insane as he's going through. Like,
yeah, maybe there's even an element of him actually literally having to sacrifice parts of himself.
Yep.
To kind of reach his goals, and that sort of explains, he has to sacrifice his inhibitions, or I don't know, half the black on his suit, I guess. His hair color.
The pigment has to go to a green.
Yeah. No, but like parts of his personality almost.
It actually really makes me want to go watch that movie again.
All right, so I don't want to spend, a huge amount of time on this necessarily, but I feel like we can at least get the broad strokes of some of this down. So let's think of the main character. Who do you play? And I was thinking, is it just a single character, or like the original movie, do we sort of mirror that in a way and have it be either a couple or a pair of friends, or like a parental relationship, or like 2 or 3 even people, and have a bit of like seeing their different story, having them go in different directions at different times, or even just working together.
Yeah, I do like the idea of it being a couple. for some reason, the name that's sort of coming into my head is like Angela and Phil. They seem, just for some reason, they're the ones that are in my head.
It's all right.
I'm picturing that Angela's going to be like the more main character.
Mm-hmm.
In that she's maybe got a familial relationship to the partner that was
the other lawyer.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, I'm still picturing that this other lawyer guy is real sleazy and caused the accident through negligence, basically. Negligence or through cutting corners.
Yeah, I think just being reckless with and uncaring about how things are going to affect other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. You play Angela mostly. Phil is there along for the ride and perhaps just like participates in the conversations in different ways and is just an extra kind of character and sounding board so that you can have dialogue going and different things to sort of exposition, use for exposition.
If I remember rightly, like how you died sort of was reflected in what you look like as a ghost.
I think so.
So
yeah,
I'm imagining that like maybe his neck or part of his head was crushed, so he can't really talk much at all. So Angela does all the talking for the two of them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at some pictures now. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, so the people that sort of got drowned were sort of okay, but the people that got beheaded were literally still beheaded as a ghost, and people who were sawed in half, like the lady who was, a magician's assistant or whatever.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe, yeah, okay. So it could be difficult for him to talk or perhaps even, maybe he's like lost an arm or something.
Yeah.
How did they die? Let's think about that.
I'm thinking it was like a building collapse sort of thing.
Okay. Oh, okay. And this is where the negligence comes in.
Yeah. Sort of like the brother lawyer was able to cut some corners for the builder.
Literally, the building had no corners. That was the problem.
Used cheaper material that, the lawyer had managed to get the building inspector sort of paid off and all this sort of stuff.
Paid off, yeah. Yeah, so he's typical, like, corrupt lawyer. All right, so they died in this building collapse. Mm-hmm. His arm was torn off. She just, like, was kind of, killed. Not too much permanent ghost damage, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking sort of more she suffocated sort of thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Was trapped underneath like a beam or something like that sort of.
Or what
cut
could
off
be
her
interesting,
supply,
maybe he didn't lose an arm. Maybe he literally lost like both legs. And so he has to, like, as a ghost, pull himself around by his arms. And maybe you get him legs back later. Or maybe as you learn to, like, manipulate your ghostly self, he manages to grow himself some new legs.
Or at least stretch the stump that he's got left down into what looks like legs.
Yeah, down exactly. Because they have those moments where they can kind of, stretch and squash and cartoonify themselves in certain ways, the ghosts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of like that idea that it gets there. He's just like, what the fuck? I don't have legs.
What I'm loving is, like, there'll be this scene where you've got to try and, scare the lawyer guy. Because the house that you're actually set to haunt is literally the family home that he's just come into.
Well, I think that's maybe part of what Beetlejuice negotiates, right?
Yep.
So let's keep going forward. So they die. They find themselves, I guess, in the rubble of this building, or maybe they're still like trapped in the basement or something. And like in the movie, they find the book. The handbook for the recently deceased.
Yep.
Deceased. And find their way to the Netherworld. And you go through, and obviously you have some, like, funny dialogue with the other people waiting, and maybe you literally, like, you get your number, you sit down, and it like cuts to like 7 months later.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, you see your caseworker, and yeah, they're like, okay, yeah, we need some hauntings. It's gonna be, in remote Canada. We don't get many people there. It might be a bit tedious. You're gonna be there for 200 years.
Yeah, I think the building that they were in has been completely torn down now and is being converted into like townhouses or something like that. So it's one of those things of, it's kind of a new building, so we don't usually like to haunt those ones. So we're just going to set you up in Canada somewhere, and there's like some shack.
Yeah, exactly. Like usually they would just haunt their own house, but like, your house is gone. Like you don't have a connection there anymore, so you kind of lost ghosts in a way, disconnected. And so yeah, and then you're about to sign, and this lawyer with a slick suit and perfect hair comes up, and I think he needs to have a real name. I think he gets the name Beetlejuice over the course of the game. Maybe that's one of the things he has to give up around his identity. So I feel like he's got a pretty normal name.
So I'm thinking that rather than starting with a B, it actually starts with a P, and it's just Peter.
Peter Juice.
So whether it's Peter Juice or whether it's
no, that's too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's Peter Joyce. And so it's different enough that if you're not expecting it, you might even not realize, because if you haven't heard anything about this game, it's like, oh, when are we going to run into Beetlejuice? And obviously it's going to clue you off the first time something happens to Peter.
And he turns his name into Beta. Just changes by a little bit.
You think it happens slowly, bit by bit. Peter Juice.
Beetlejuice.
He started
Peter Joyce.
Beetlejuice, and then Beetlejuice. And strangely back to Peter Juice for a little while. Yeah, so I think basically what Peter comes and does is he's like, no, flirts with the guy behind the desk, and, says, come on, Jeremy. Can you? I happen to know that, someone just died, but they were too important to haunt this particular office. And, why don't we send them over there? His place in New York. And then he I'll get you tickets to Charlie Chaplin. Literally the first dead entertainer I could think of. I'll get you tickets to David Bowie. Oh, now I'm sad.
Not in the 1950s. Get you tickets to
I forgot. Charlie Chaplin was probably okay then.
Yeah.
When did he die?
Oh, I'm thinking
Houdini.
Get you tickets to Houdini. I heard that he just died in some Buddy Holly or something like that.
Chaplin didn't die till 77, so it can't be that. Yeah, Buddy Holly. I think he died. Did he die in the 50s or the 60s? Anyway, whenever we said this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, then they get transferred to this law office, or maybe it's not the law office. Maybe it's like the office below or something. It's not directly this partner's office, but it's close enough that that Peter Joyce's real goal becomes clear once you get there.
Yeah.
He's like, forget about that talent agency. They can haunt themselves. Our real jobs is one floor up. I mean, there's literally a limit. Like, because of you're only meant to haunt that one floor, there's sort of just you can only make your way a certain level initially into the top level. Like, you have to crouch. Or maybe you have to send Phil in because he's on his hands. He's got no legs. He's the only one who won't get smushed through the floor.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but anyway, and then the rest is kind of sorting that out and getting your revenge on the shitty lawyer.
Uh-huh.
and Peter Joyce becoming Beetlejuice.
Just gradually over the course of the whole game.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so rather than going for another movie, I've been watching a TV show quite a bit lately. I know that there was a game that sort of recently came out, but I wanted to see what we could do with Australian Ninja Warrior.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Australian Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, so it's the Australian version, but
yeah,
it's it's the Ninja Warrior thing. My wife and I have been watching the current series on Channel 9, just recording it.
Yeah.
And it's really addictive, but the whole idea of having, different sort of things that you can put in place and then have a whole heap of different people run through it sort of thing. Doing little quick time events sort of thing is what I'm picturing.
It is quick time events?
Yeah, for the game. Obviously in the actual Ninja Warrior, you've seen a Ninja Warrior course.
I know Ninja Warrior, yeah. I know that Ninja Warrior itself isn't quick time events.
No.
No, but I was wondering whether it's a bit more of a Mirror's Edge or Assassin's Creed kind of parkourish sort of thing with, obviously, Assassin's Creed, both of those kind of, as long as you hit a button at the right time, you're almost always going to make a jump, but we make it a bit more difficult than that based on, how far you have to jump, so there's a bit of timing around landing and there's a bit of timing around pushing off for you or like holding on with, how well your upper body strength is and that sort of thing.
Yep. Okay, so if you think about, the steps at the start that they've sort of got to go on, I'm thinking you could actually have a hold and let go to sort of jump. If you can sort of get the timing working well, then yes, you're going to be able to jump through it nice and quickly. But if you're not getting the timing well enough, you can actually fall into the water very quickly. Yeah. I'm thinking that it's you need to be consistent on all these different bits and pieces. So if you're, say, going to run and jump on a tramp, you've got to sort of maybe do the old decathlon thing of pressing two buttons to move the legs, press them both to sort of jump, and then press them both again to jump on the tramp, and then you sort of got to get a certain speed up. You can have these kind of twitch games that you got to put all these things together kind of quickly. I'm thinking with strength things, you've got to be sort of getting the timing right, because if you're trying to hold yourself up, you got to have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of weakening that's happening to your
some sort of stamina
body
thing.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think there are some cool things we could do with that. And I think because, to justify why it's Australian Ninja Warrior and not just Ninja Warrior, I think all of the obstacles need to be Australia themed. And you, instead of falling into water, you fall into beer.
Or it's just called Ninja
Warrior,
and the DLC is all the different, like, if you want to go American Ninja Warrior, then you get the sort of like set dressing of that, and then you get, the different set dressing. If we're going down the actual, branding way of thinking of this is Ninja Warrior.
Well, I was thinking less branding and more, one of the things is you have to swing across a tree, but the only things you can grab onto are the hands of koalas that are above there hanging down. Like, yeah, but kind of helping
I want to see actual, legitimate things that are on.
Oh, you want a real boring Ninja Warrior. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine.
A lot
we
of these
usually do sports games.
A lot of these sort of games are basically almost like a battle royale sort of thing. That you're sort of going in and playing your own version of it, and trying to get a little bit further.
Yeah, so I'm thinking this could be a good couch co-op game. I guess depending on how you want to do the camera, whether you do sort of split screen behind the shoulder, or if you literally do a kind of where you would see the camera on the show as when they show it, from the side, seeing each player.
Yep.
on the same screen. And so, yeah, I can picture like a couch, not couch co-op, couch competitive game where, yeah, you've got, however many players you've got, you all get put into a bracket, into, tournament style, whatever. And maybe you can like randomize the obstacles, or, you could have one player makes it or something. You could build the different things. It's like, you're going to go from, hang on, I can't remember them now. You're going to go from the swinging thing to the one with the rings to the fucking, there's a lot of different things. And I can't remember the names of them all. But yeah, obviously you can put them in different combinations. And then, yeah, you all compete to get the best times running through it based on these mostly timing based sort of mini games for each one.
Yeah.
But I think also you need aspects of strategy around your character, has certain strengths and weaknesses. So they can get good speed on certain things, but like their upper arm stamina is not great. So, you need to, that you've got, the rings one coming up. So you're going to need to conserve your upper arm stamina for that and, go quickly on the something else, or take, you might have to take risks on some of them to conserve stamina for a later one, or that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm having a look now at American Ninja Warrior Challenge for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Which seems to be race against the clock with your friends and family while testing your skills in couch multiplayer, or take on the challenging career mode. Those who successfully complete the city courses move on to the finals, who will face a stunning four-stage course modeled after famed Mount Midoriyama in Japan. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so we basically made... I mean, we didn't go particularly, out there.
No.
With the game, so I'm not surprised.
I do like the idea, the fact that we've sort of gone to the same thing that they've done. But I think that we could also have like better quality like smashes, so you can actually do like physical damage to your character. So if you have like a face plant, they can sort of get up and they've got blood streaming down their nose and all this sort of stuff. Because when you think about it, like the Ninja Warrior courses are kind of like just weird saw contraptions.
Well, that's why I was thinking with being able to build a course, right? You can really fuck with someone. Yeah, and just create something that's
impossible,
totally hard.
It makes them want to do it a lot faster because they've got those spinning saw blades beneath them instead of water.
I think you just need a high level character then, right? Like, you've basically got, depending on how you put it together, you've got a challenge level where it's like if you don't have stamina, at least this high, you're probably not going to make this. But I think based on your timing, you can save stamina on certain things. Okay,
so I'm actually really liking this idea of take this whole idea about the game where you're trying to build up your character and all this sort of stuff, but online there's an actual final mode that is all about, like, if you think that you're the best of the best, you can go into this mode, take your character that you've sort of built up and added skill points into by doing training and all this sort of stuff, into a final, no holds barred, basically death course, in which if you win, then, you get an actual money prize. But if you lose, your character's dead. And you've got to start all over again.
Wait, an actual money prize?
Actual money prize.
Okay. Oh, I see, but it's permadeath for your character.
It's permadeath for your character. So basically you're paying like a money entry, sort of like, the competitions that they sometimes have, that you're paying a $10 sort of entry fee with a chance of picking up, $5,000 or something like that.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, and I was looking at some videos of the Switch version and it looks really shitty. and they haven't done a great job on the animation and stuff. I feel like you could do it so much better. Like a Ninja Warrior game needs that like super flowing animation from one thing to the next.
Yep.
So that, you know, when you're doing well, you really are knocking off seconds.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like, oh, like it took me, you know, I slowly jumped down this small ledge to get to the next obstacle and it like took me 3 seconds. Which it kind of looked like in the video that I just watched.
Yeah. What I'm liking is, you know, having to do sort of like the left foot, right foot, trying to get your timing. But, you know, then you've also got like the, so like, you know how in the old golf games, they used to have like the power bar sort of thing where you did the 3 clicks. If you had that continuously, that you got to try and get the timing down on that sort of stuff for your feet, you're sort of timing on the swings, you're timing on a few different things. My main problem about doing something online is obviously you can't do it all locally. It's got to be done on the server. And that's when lag comes into play. So timing with lag can be a bit weird.
Well, it depends, because if they trust the client enough to say, yes, you got a successful or a mostly successful or a fail on a particular like timing test,
yep, then
that's all that has to be transferred to the server, and
True.
That just kind of syncs that up. It just, you'd have to make sure that you
especially when we're talking like, character permadeath.
Yeah. And look, maybe it's not online. Maybe you have local monthly tournaments and you upload your character to them and then you have to play live locally and it's televised. And then we don't need the actual show anymore.
One of the things that I've heard happens a lot of the time when it comes to like Ninja Warrior is they bring in new obstacles without telling people, like without telling the contestants that they're going to be bringing in as new things,
right.
And basically everything's
so it's something
just
they haven't practiced on.
So I liking the idea of, okay, you see this one thing here, well, you're going to have to do 18 button presses, you know, and sort of time it based on where your character is during this thing, and you don't have any time to practice it. You've just got to do it.
Yeah.
And you just got to get the timing thing right. It. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, because what I'm almost thinking is for a particular course, basically there is the 100% timing, like the 100% fastest you can make it through a course, and that's if you hit every timing goal right on the middle.
Yep.
100% dot. And that's going to be hard.
Extremely hard.
I'm almost picturing a course, not in the way it's displayed, obviously, but conceptually as a Guitar Hero track. Right? Yep. Because to 100% it, you got to hit all those notes or all those timing things. And so, yeah, like, you're right. You have to do like left, and the buttons correspond somewhat to what your body is doing. So I'm thinking when you start off, you have to hit that first button as close to the buzzer as possible.
Yep.
And then from that point, for every step that's going to come down, there's a timer swinging or whatever, like close to a golf swing thing. And maybe it is even 2. Maybe it's like 1 for your foot landing, and then quite quickly afterwards, 1 for the sort of as that foot goes off again. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you fail either of those, you could stumble in different ways. Because either you're like getting a bad landing on that foot, and so you might twist an ankle, or you're getting a bad takeoff on that foot, and you might like not make it to the next step or whatever. You might slip.
Land in the spike trap. Yep.
Yeah. We didn't talk about it. This is lethal Ninja Warrior, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Acid underneath, not water. Yeah.
Acid, spike traps. I'm thinking spinning saw blades. Yeah.
They're being chased by gorillas.
Okay. You know how in the Blade movies, how Blade had like this sword that if you grabbed onto the handle and you didn't hold onto it in the right way, like after like 3 seconds, the blades came out and chopped all your fingers off. Yeah, I'm imagining that. Like as you're swinging through, if you're holding off
as
too
you're
long,
hanging, yeah.
And your character's gone.
Totally. That could be a fun, like, that's an unlockable. Maybe that's like after you beat the game once, you get the ultra violent mode. That's just totally gory as fuck.
Gory as fuck, and, you know, your character's got permadeath.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of like this idea that it's not necessarily you having to know, like having to make decisions about which buttons to press to like make your feet move and that sort of thing. It shows you like, all right, there's an A press coming up for your left leg. And it's like landing, landing and release. And then it's going to be B, landing and release. A, landing and release, landing and release. And that's, you know, for your first few things. And then it's like, okay, we're coming up to like an obstacle that you're going to have to jump up. And so it's both feet. It's like A and B at the same time to make that jump. Yep. And now you're using your arms. So now it's like maybe your triggers or something. And again, it's just timing them right. And so each person is going to have basically the exact same things they have to hit in that order. But obviously, maybe if you do stumble, then there are a few extra buttons you have to hit to recover. And then that also obviously adds to your time or make, you know, if you can recover quickly, almost like a Gears of War, like active reload, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you notice that you stumbled and you hit within the frame the time frame that lets you recover more quickly. Otherwise, you might act like literally fall over and have to pick yourself back up.
Yeah. Or you may sap some of your stamina, which you've got a stamina bar that's always going down, but it may sap it a little bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think even if you don't hit perfectly, but you still get, you know, kind of within the yellow zone, you don't slow down, but you use up more stamina. Or something like that. Like you're just sort of not being as efficient as you could be. And that means you've got less leeway later on to deal with any screw-ups or misses on, you know, the actual obstacles.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a really interesting way to take that sort of game. And then then you can have really fluid animation and stuff because all you're having to react to is, you know, one of three sort of ins and outs of any animation. Or even just one of two, perhaps, and being able to flow between those of like, okay, they hit it perfect. Oh, there's a stumble. Oh, but it'll recover. So like you can kind of see how those animations could work and really keep it moving and feeling like the show.
Yeah, I'm just imagining with like them. You got a character who's up on some monkey bar sort of thing, and they're trying to swing. They miss time. If they go to release and they haven't grabbed onto the next one because they mistimed when they were trying to grab onto it, then they're down into the saw blades.
That's it.
And blood just squirts up everywhere.
Exactly. And it's perma-blood. So when the other person gets to the end and gets up that wall, you'll see them covered in the other person's blood.
Yeah, and if it was on the monkey bars, you know, they may actually have a little bit more slipperiness on it now.
They have to get the timing even more.
It depends on how many competitors ago it was that they died. Like, you know, blood's going to dry, and when it dries, it's going to get sticky. So maybe it's better grip, like two competitors down the line.
Ooh, one other thing that could be interesting. So I was just thinking. Sorry, I was thinking of my own thing and completely just breezed past your joke there. But just from a gameplay point of view. Again, to sort of mix it up a bit. So one of the things you often see on Ninja Warrior is they'll take a risk. And so, you know, they're swinging on something, but they haven't actually got enough momentum up yet to make it to the next thing, and they fall.
Yep.
So what I'm thinking is, like, yes, you've got sort of your perfect way through, but you can choose which swing to let go on. And so obviously, you know, there's kind of a fairly binary decision. I think if it's close, if it's going to be close, then you just have to get the timing exactly right. Like if you make a risky swing and then hit in the green on the timing for the landing, then you'll grip it.
Yep. And you'll get style points.
Maybe, yeah.
But if you don't, grisly death.
Yeah. But the other thing I was thinking is maybe you've got like a boost that you can use, and either it is like a one-off per run, or it's like a star power sort of thing where you've done well enough so far, or it just takes a chunk of your stamina off where you're like, I'm behind. Yeah, basically like I'm behind. I know I need one more swing on this to make it to the next one, but I'm going to use my boost. And you can't just use it in midair. Like you have to, and maybe it's like hold a trigger or something, like it's some sort of modifier key.
Yep.
That before you make that action to let go, you've activated your boost, and your next action is going to, have a bit more oomph behind it and basically be almost guaranteed to succeed.
Yeah.
Or maybe it just like increases the timing windows or something. But again, that's going to bring the strategy into it of maybe you want to use that early on to get a good lead and, psych out your opponent, but you're going to have less stamina down the line, so you're taking a risk and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm imagining that like the crowd could come into it as well, like the AI crowd. Like if you're going really, really well, then, they're going to be cheering a lot more, and therefore your morale sort of goes up a bit, and you've got almost a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that should.
Things.
Maybe. I mean, I think if you did it with like a combo meter, basically, of, the better you go, you can earn a boost.
Yep.
After a certain combo, then I think then that's one way the crowd reaction could kind of come into it. And the other thing is just as a purely kind of immersive thing, I think you do definitely have the crowd react to, if you're doing well, that most of them are cheering you on, but if the other person has a good recovery, then maybe they're going to be sort of the underdog of like, oh shit, like they could make it, and cheer them on, and you sort of get a sense of how the crowd is leaning. And look, it's hard. Like, it's a 25, 30 second match or something. Well, it depends on something.
Well, it depends. I mean, some of the ones that we were watching today were like minutes.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. I guess it could depend on the obstacles, but like it's going to be a pretty quick round each time. So the audience sort of opinion is going to swing back and forth pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I think that could be an interesting addition as well.
Yeah, definitely could be.
Yeah, I feel like we got a lot of depth.
I can't believe that we're 52 fucking minutes in and we've talked about 2 fucking games.
Oh, that's all right.
Let's have one more.
Yeah, let's do one more. Did you have anything in mind, or do you want me to hit random again?
Just what I've been watching recently. We've just finished Stranger Things Season 3, so that's sort of in my head right now.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet, so we could do that, but it would have to only be up to Season 2.
So, stuff that. I want to talk about what happens in Season 3.
All right, let's go with this, because it could be relatively quick, but I feel like it could
also take 3/4 of an hour.
It could just go well in a game space.
Yep.
So, I hit refresh again, and one of the movies that came up was 2013's sci-fi thriller Gravity.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen it.
Have not seen it, but I know it's Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, and
yeah. Look, it's basically a semi-realistic disaster movie in space.
Yep. So VR.
Yeah, probably would be good. Yeah, and I think it's basically that sort of thing. So what happens in the movie, and obviously this is not really a spoiler, it's right at the beginning.
In the trailer.
It's in the trailer. Is
meteor strike.
There's basically a meteor storm, like something breaks up.
Debris or something like that.
It's debris, yeah. I think an asteroid hits one space station or one satellite, which then creates debris that's orbiting around the Earth and sort of destroying everything in its path.
Yep.
Which is not particularly realistic, but whatever. It's good dramatic plot.
Yep.
So I think you do one of those games where, you're starting off and you could even do the lift off. That could be interesting in VR.
Yep.
And maybe it's sort of a montage in a way of maybe you've even got an aspect of your training and then, a briefing for the mission. And it's just it's a pretty standard go up to the space station mission I think we keep it realistic.
Then you've got a couple of like Lone Echo style sort of pulling yourself along and doing a few random things, and then all hell.
Yeah, you do an EVA. I think during the launch, it's like you're mostly just getting prompts to hit certain buttons at certain times, and you've got a co-pilot, and so there's sort of discussion going on. You start building that relationship up, and then you have a few sections on the ship, but then during a spacewalk, shit goes down, and half the crew is killed. You're kind of stuck out there. This game's going to make people vomit because there's a lot of spinning going on. Because it's really hard to take control of your whatever it is, radial inertia.
Yep. But you'll have that feeling of weightlessness because you're just spinning and spinning and spinning. Free bucket comes with the game.
Like a horse feeder that straps on.
It clips onto your headset. Like we've got
it's official peripheral.
And it's done in such a way that it sort of just goes over your mouth, but has almost like an airlock seal so that you can't smell what's in the bucket.
So you can keep playing after each vomiting session. And there's trackers on it, so the game knows where the vomit bag is at all times. We actually use it. There are a lot of times in the game where, for some reason, you have to like manipulate things with something that you've got in your mouth.
It's even worse when you realize that we really went for realism, and it comes with a install your own catheter kit as well, so that.
And also, we will cut off all your oxygen, and you will be breathing through our oxygen tanks, which we may turn low at appropriate moments in the game.
Yes,
to give a real immersive atmosphere of being stuck drifting through space with no hope of ever being rescued.
A patented harness that you put on, so it makes it feel like you're weightless.
Oh yeah, it's full on. You have to play underwater.
No, but it's just like what Emre was saying to us many, many, many episodes ago, where like just floating in a harness was good enough to actually.
That's true.
Make you feel like you were in there.
Yeah, that's true. Earthlight did have a setup at one point where they literally hung them above the ground and had VR headsets going through a very realistic space station.
Yeah. So it's sort of like leveraging off their technology that they've already built and just making it more gravity-like.
And they're just blowing it up.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I'm imagining taking it away from the sort of gravity part of it, because from what I'm gathering, like they're only attached to the space station for a small part of it. The rest of it, they're sort of floating, not able to actually do much.
Look, she makes her way to, I can't remember exactly. She gets a shuttle working, then finds like this Chinese space station or the Chinese shuttle something satellite, and because the one she's got is not going to make it. And so you are sort of changing between different ships and stuff.
Okay,
and so you could have some of that sort of thing.
Is George Clooney along for the ride, or is he just in radio contact sort of thing?
That's definitely a spoiler. Do you want me to tell you? And the audience, do you want to listen? If not, skip forward 30 seconds.
No, don't skip forward. Don't skip forward. We're not going to talk about it.
All right.
I'm going to take it as if in this game, in this game, and don't give it away or anything. In this game, the George Clooney character is actually already dead, and is just a figment of her imagination and her coping mechanism to actually get through all these things. So it's just over the radio that she's hearing.
Yeah.
That she's hearing his voice, having conversations, but it's actually, it's a coping mechanism to deal with the tragedy that's just happened.
Yeah, that could be
Not saying that that's what actually happens in the movie. It probably isn't, but I kind of like that for this. That's
a cool idea. Yeah, and look, I'm almost picturing did you play Firewatch?
Yes.
Yeah, like that kind of relationship then that you've got going on of, as far as you're concerned, your partner has gone off elsewhere, maybe you decided to split up or something.
Yep.
Because you had two options, and whoever makes there is going to be able to save the other one, but you're communicating over the radio. And then, maybe you'd like flip it that, oh, actually the partner died and it's your coping mechanism. But
yeah. And I think there can be a relationship there as well. Like they were like husband and wife or something like that. And so you playing the Sandra Bullock role because I think that just makes sense.
Yeah.
And having a strong female character in the game as well as in the movie is not a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm definitely liking VR because I'm thinking, especially if you're talking different language sort of things, sort of having to decipher and not really knowing what's what, but your
there's an element of that
is actually telling you, oh no, you want to be clicking on, you want to be connecting
remember your
the
training.
Yellow to the red, and remember your training, and then then it goes. It's sort of the typical dream sort of thing, and you're back in class. And
well, there's an element of that in the movie because she goes into the Chinese shuttle, right, and everything's in Chinese, and so she's having to remember based on just the position of things.
Yep.
From the shuttles she knows and that sort of thing. So you could have an aspect of that where you have to maybe like consult a manual to get the position of a particular button. Like you've got an English manual, but all the buttons are labeled in a different language.
Yep.
And so you look in the manual, it's like, oh, it's the third row, second column in this array of buttons, and they're different colors, and like
flick
it's
this
almost
switch
a puzzle
and then
game.
Flick this switch, and it does the same thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Almost elements of what is it? Keep talking.
Keep talking. Yep.
Keep talking and nobody explodes. Maybe not quite as
frantic,
as abstract and as frantic, but having that time pressure, your oxygen's running out, and you literally have to look through this manual to basically solve relatively simple logic puzzles to match the buttons up to what the manual's telling you. But yeah, the time pressure is going to just make it super tense.
I kind of like the idea of having a separate mode that is, kind of like the keep talking, no one explodes version of a co-op game.
Right. Yeah. A little bit of, I expect you to die as well, where you're sitting in this one space and you've maybe got a time limit and, you're having to sort of just figure out the
console around and, was this flashing light mean? And then, they've got to sort of look through the manual to find that. So it's kind of like the bomb, but it's more that there's not as much time pressure.
You're inside the bomb.
Yeah. Inside the bomb. I really like this idea, especially our peripherals that we came up with.
We haven't done that in a while. It used to be a thing. We had a little sting and everything, didn't we?
Oh, you did, yes.
Trevor's peripherals.
I think it was Trevor's custom peripherals.
Trevor's custom peripherals. Yeah.
And it won't make another appearance for another, 70 odd episodes.
Don't count it out. There are plenty more peripherals out there waiting to be invented.
I just kind of like the realism of the catheter. Real uncomfortable.
We need our games. Don't you know? Games have to be completely accurate as much as possible.
Yep.
It's not like they're power fantasies or anything.
I reckon that's about it.
Yeah, I think so. Let's finish it up there.
Yep.
So thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online, go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. You can find all of our episodes there, as well as guest spots we've done on other shows and a few other ways to organize your stuff. We are also part of the 8-Bit Collective. This is a group of like-minded podcasters, mostly around games and sports and related kind of hobbies. Go and check that out at 8bit.net. I know there's a new NBA podcast that's just come out, and Drew from the House of Mario has just started a new podcast. There's cool stuff happening.
And there was some cool information that was just released earlier today, I think, from Dungeons and Dragons, in which I Speak Giant are actually going to be debuting like a new scenario from Dungeons and Dragons on their podcast. So
nice.
It's definitely a good time to actually check that out. That was some pretty awesome information.
Absolutely. And also make sure to check out the 8-Bit Patreon. If you go there and sign up, if they hit their goal, then there'll be a big party at PAX Australia. We would love to go to it, so go and support that Patreon.
And we'd also like it if you could support all our friends at the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just look for hashtag AGPN on Twitter, or look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuradust for the song Map Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Beetlejuice.
And I'm Beetlejuice.
And should I say it a third time? Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.